Florida's Women in Energy Leadership Forum was launched to inform, inspire, motivate diverse talent to join the energy workforce by intentional recognition of current female energy leaders who contribute to growing Florida's economy and the purposeful sharing of their professional journeys. We are creating opportunity. Join me each week as we meet new leaders in energy and listen to their important roles in an industry that is vital to the country's future. Hello there, and welcome to this week's show. I'm so excited about the two of you, Cindy and Patty, because you may remember I started the Florida's Women in Energy Leadership Forum to really highlight all of the different careers in energy. And the two of you are examples of yet another field within the industry. And I think the two of you are the first we've spoken to in the area of environmental sciences. So I'm really excited to have you on the show, and I thank you for your time. Want to give a shout out to your company. This segment is sponsored by Duke Energy, who's also one of our inaugural sponsors of the forum. So thank you. Thank you for all that you do. And Patty, I figured we'd start with you. You're the Director of Environmental Sciences at Duke Energy.
Environmental services, yes. Okay. And so my responsibilities are within the state of Florida. Duke Energy has various regions that we operate in, and my responsibility is focused on Florida. And our team looks at a variety of environmental compliance strategy activities in Florida, whether it's power generation, transmission activities, or even local, customer delivery distribution that plugs right into people's homes. And there are environmental considerations for all aspects of our business. So a lot of times people focus on the generation side, but there are a lot of important pieces that go into how you take the power out of a power plant and get it to people, whether it's water, air, natural resources. And our team, I think, does a wonderful job, whether they're working with agencies on permitting activities, out in the field, doing observations and assessments to make sure our work is being done well. So a lot of diversity in the work that we do, as well as a lot of diversity in the employees on our teams.
And I suppose, Patty, what we should add in there is that getting that power to the customer safely and reliably, which can't emphasize enough that you do that day in and day out. For how many customers in Florida? Do we know that number?
That number escapes me at the moment. But
a lot.
Large footprint. Large footprint.
That's right. That's
one thing I would say about the company is when we say safety, we think about invent free. So when we say safety, we are thinking about our employees and we are thinking about our customers, but we're also thinking about the environment. And so it really comes down to event-free operation. And we have this saying that says it takes a lot of work to make nothing happen. So as long as we're operating safely and have no environmental issues, that a lot of work has gone into that.
Absolutely.
And, I'm really proud of our employees for doing that.
Absolutely. In your case, boring is good, right?
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes. No news is good news.
No news.
Right.
That's right. And Cindy, you're part of this very vital team, Cindy Embach. So tell us what you do and how it's a little bit different than what Patty does.
Yes, ma'am. I am lucky to work for Patty. My team is on the front line within our power plants and our solar fields. So I have a team of about 9 environmental professionals who, as I said, are the boots on the ground, the folks on the front lines, day to day, making sure that we're doing everything we can to meet all of our permits, all of our any rules and regs, and certainly trying to uphold our environmental policy to be environmental stewards of the environment. So every single day, those guys are out there doing that, and I lead that team and work with Patty and also with the other arms of the organization to help support them as well, but focusing primarily on our coal plant in Crystal River. And then we also have several gas plants in Florida. And then again, most recently in our solar area. And that area is expanding tremendously. A lot of growth in solar right now. So our team is growing from that perspective.
It's interesting, ladies, as I look at you and hear what your work is for folks that you're trying to recruit into the industry, your future workforce talent. You're such great examples that this is, men and women leading in these energy sectors.
Yes.
So, what was the path that brought you into Duke, Cindy? How did you get to lead that team?
Well, I think I'm probably unusual in the path that I took because I grew up within this organization, meaning I started out when it was Florida Power. I've been with this organization for 32 years. So I started out when it was Florida Power, and then Progress Energy, and now Duke Energy. And I've grown in my role within the company. So believe it or not, I started as a contract worker, as a contingent worker, and worked in the nuclear side of the business, and started out in warehousing and procurement. And then I had an opportunity to get into waste management and was responsible for the management of hazardous and non-hazardous wastes for the entire Florida region, based at our Crystal River location. And then it just grew from there. And I've had the opportunity to lead this team and be the manager of the field folks for, gosh, what, Patty? Probably 2-3 years now.
3 years, yeah.
Yeah. So it's been a journey. And it's been a journey of growth over 32 years. And so I think I'm unusual in that perspective that I started out at the bottom and had the opportunity to grow from there.
To work your way up. But
Yes,
there's so much rarity in what you just said, right? First, to be with one company for 32 years anywhere.
Yes.
Right. Regardless of the industry. And then certainly with the Florida company that has enabled your growth, your professional growth. But that also tells me, Cindy, that you were not afraid to take risks when you saw opportunities. You at some point raised your hand, or you had great champions that really brought those opportunities to your attention.
Yes, I think that's a piece of advice that I would offer is, don't be afraid to just constantly be looking for opportunities, whether it be for, an actual position that's open in a field that you're interested in. But also, don't be afraid to ask for opportunities for projects or, something like that broaden your horizon and get you some experience that will help you grow into another position in the future. So that's exactly what I did, and it worked out very well.
So thank you for sharing that. It's really investing in your own future and your own development.
Yes.
Patty, how did you get into Duke and where you are now?
Well, excuse me. Actually, when I graduated from college, I thought I was going to go into the medical field. And so I interviewed and was accepted into a lab job at the All Children's Hospital in St. Petersburg, Florida. And then a day or so later, I got a job opportunity with the Polk County Health Department doing septic tank inspections and drinking water inspections. And I kind of weighed the two. And I realized even though I had studied immunology and biology, that the other opportunities seemed more exciting to me. So I ended up at the health department. I worked for DEP for several years. And I actually did a lot of work with Florida Power at the time. And a position came open at Florida Power. I actually had a good friend who worked for Florida Power, and she told me about the opportunity. And I thought, company had always had a wonderful reputation with the agency. So again, kind of like Cindy, I dipped my toe in that pool, hoping maybe I'd have an opportunity. And I was fortunate enough to be accepted. And I too started at a very entry-level position and did the same thing. Anytime something new or different would come up, I'd try it, and I guess, they say to know when to say no, but it's hard to say no sometimes. And I think saying yes gets you places. And then as you mature, you can figure out, how do I leverage all of that? But my advice is just try new things. Don't just shun something because you're uncomfortable. There's that phrase, you need to learn to be comfortable being uncomfortable. Right. Sometimes that helps you go places you would never have imagined.
Therein lies the growth, right? Therein lies the growth.
Yes.
One of the common themes of all of our shows this last 12 months, I would say, is more and more examples of women like you who say, take the chance, take the risk. don't doubt your abilities. Because of course, professionally, we always recognize, some of us recognize that may be a difference between men seeking professional advancement and women. Men are more likely to say, I can do that, where women might doubt themselves. And you and others that we've interviewed are here to say, no, take that chance.
Right.
From risk comes growth. And
Mhm.
and you're learning as you're jumping around the organization, you're learning the different parts that just, I think it makes you even more available and worthy isn't the correct word, knowledgeable for that future advancement, right? In another
Yep.
section, certainly in the operations side.
Yep.
Yep. And what I found is you always have resources available to you, right? You always have people to support you along the way. I have found that in almost every case, that if I get in a position where I really am out of my comfort zone and I need a little bit of assistance, there's always someone that you can turn to help give you that support and help you grow in that role. And just don't be afraid to raise your hand and ask for that help and ask for that support, and look for a mentor.
Absolutely.
That's a big key, is look for someone who's either been where you've been or where you currently are, they've been there, or someone that has some experience that you could draw from.
Absolutely.
Yep.
So you both mentioned Florida Power, and that's how long you've been with the
Yes.
company.
Yes.
And pre-acquisition time. Joe Richardson, the late Joe Richardson, when I opened the Women in Energy Forum in 2016, the first forum, my opening was a recognition of all of the mentors and champions
Yes.
in my professional life. And when I was appointed to the PSC, one of the first visits I had was from Joe Richardson. He and a fellow named Jim Stanfield, who really spent the time to make sure that I understood electricity, right from, electricity 101. And it's something I speak freely about, and give him a lot of recognition for paying attention to, a very young attorney just appointed to the commission when he didn't have to, right? I was going to get it eventually. And but I guess he felt, well, we're stuck with her for at least 4 years. We better make sure she knows something about something. But it's those are the mentors and the champions that you really never forget.
Right. Absolutely.
So, ladies, you also both mentioned DEP. In your roles, are you finding that in this time of attention, rightly so, to environmental issues and health concerns, that you are collaborating more and more with state agencies and with stakeholders?
I would say yes. Especially, our focus has shifted. Cindy and I were talking about this other day, as the company has changed. When we joined, I think everything was very technically based. It was black and white regulation. And the more we've grown and the partnerships that we've established, not just with the agencies, but non-governmental organizations as well, has been important. And so even though the last year, many of us have been working remotely, we've been facing, environmental requirements that we need to be successful with, whether it's, as Cindy referred to, as clean water or reclaimed water use, air emissions. So we do work very closely with the agency on our compliance strategies, as well as some of the non-governmental organizations. So the collaboration, communication, engagement is very important to us. Yes.
Yes, and when you work in the field like we do, we're dealing with agencies on a regular basis with inspections, routine inspections, and things like that, and just can't overemphasize the importance of those relationships, because we learn from them, they learn from us, and and they come back again, and we're able to build on that relationship. Just that's one of the things that we can't overemphasize, and it's something that our folks are involved in, every day, and we encourage, that type of relationship building. So it's absolutely important, and it's just as important as it's ever been, if not more so. Yep.
And Cindy, that stakeholder engagement extends into the water area as well. Are you working with there are 5 water management districts in the state of Florida. I don't know how many of them cover your service territory, but before the show, you were explaining to me that you are subject to the consumptive use permitting process as well.
Yes, many of our power plants have consumptive use permits. And so we have responsibilities, requirements, water minimization elements to those permits that we have to comply with. And so we're always looking for opportunities at many of our sites to, for example, use more reclaimed water. So that we can help offset, some of our actual groundwater use. So, yes, it's a big part of what we do. Absolutely. Yeah.
And
Patty may
believe
elaborate.
well, I have to believe it counts toward your environmental stewardship as well.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So, ladies, we have our first question from the audience. I'm going to take this opportunity to remind our viewers and listeners that they can submit questions right on our Facebook feed. Those questions come directly to me, so we encourage you to ask questions. But you mentioned water, and I want to take you back a bit, Cindy and Patty, to what happened earlier this week in the town of Oldsmar, close to Tampa. I just feel like we can't ignore that situation this week. We received reports that one of the smaller water facilities there in Oldsmar was actually hacked. Their computers were hacked such that the hacker was playing with the levels of lye, I guess, that control water quality. Could have been a very, very tragic situation. Thankfully, the engineer was alert and saw it happen immediately and was able to, assess and fix the situation. But it just, I hope, reminded everyone this week that we're talking about critical infrastructure. And
Yes.
I saw this morning the reports, the comparisons between energy and water infrastructure, and rightly so, raising awareness to how vulnerable we all are and how important safety is in this regard. What does all that mean for the two of you and for your company?
Patty, thoughts on that?
Well, I think it is very important. I mean, as you just alluded to, water is critical to the work that we do. The services we provide they're critical. We have our own critical infrastructure. We're considered an essential service. So every component of what we do is critical. And we do rely a lot on cyber tools to make our work efficient, whether it's water treatment is such as that you were just referring to, our air emissions monitoring systems, security around our substations. So the whole concept of safety and cybersecurity is very important to us, to continue to operate successfully without interruption of power service to the community.
Yeah, I will tell you that training that our people receive along that line is very important, and it's extensive. So how we can, as employees, prevent opportunities for people to gain access, whether it be physically via, some of our barriers or security access points, or whether it be via cyber, cybersecurity access. We are well trained on how to prevent that. And it's something that we do annually and multiple times, per year. So it's a big issue, and it's something that our company recognizes and is doing everything they can to train us well so that we can help prevent those types of events.
Well, and we certainly thank you for that.
Right.
All right. You ready for our first audience question?
Sure.
All right. And it's a good one. What are the most significant changes in the industry during your career? Patty.
Yeah. So when I hear that question, the thing I think of is when I came to Florida Power, we were pretty much status quo. That's what we wanted. We just held the line, made sure we were in compliance, but held, status quo. And then slowly but surely, regulations really started to come. I remember probably in the mid 2000s, we had air regulations, we had water. It just started piling on. And we quickly became aware that status quo wasn't going to cut it anymore, that we had to really work to be creative, to learn how to comply with these new regulations in a cost-effective way. Lila, with your background, you understand we need to be prudent in the decisions that we make, how we're going to comply, but be assured that we do. And the other interesting thing, too, is sometimes you have competing interests. You could have wonderful air regulation, and we could come up with a wonderful air compliance strategy, but then yet we're taking the pollutants that we're dealing with in the air and we're translating them into water. So then we look at water treatment. Now, how are we going to treat our water so that the water we discharge is clean? So when I think about when I started to where we even are today, with President Biden and his new initiatives, the pendulum is swinging, and we need to be ready. Unfortunately, we do have a really strong team of folks who help us with all of this, analyzing the policy, analyzing the regulations so that we can successfully implement. But so that's what I would think. I think when we started, everything was pretty status quo. We knew what we needed to do. We knew what the rules were. We knew how to run the power plants. Everything was good. And then, you wake up and the world is just dynamic and things are changing and you got to keep up with them. So.
And
as I think
our
as
kids
a result,
know more than we do about the technology that we have to know about. Yes.
Right. And I guess I would just add on to what Patty was saying, as a result of all those changing rules and regs that we've seen over the years, is our power plants have changed tremendously as a result. I've mentioned Crystal River a couple different times because I'm very familiar with that site. That site, from an air regulations perspective, has changed tremendously, and the footprint of the site, and the addition of scrubbers and SCRs and flue gas desulfurization, wastewater treatment, all the things that we've had to add over the last 10 years, Patty, it's just been tremendous. And it certainly adds on to our workload and the rules and regs that we have to manage and the permit requirements. But, it's helping us to meet the requirements that we're expected to meet. So
I think somebody once told me that we transition from being just power plant managers into chemical plant managers.
Right.
Yes.
Those individuals carry a lot of responsibility beyond just generating power.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Exactly.
That's right. But the other thing, Patty, is it's the regulations have changed. Maybe they're stricter. Certainly, it's a rising cost industry, but our population and our demand have increased.
Yes.
Correct.
So you're having to do the same and more because of the population growth with a technology and advancements in energy that you're learning, right? And in many ways also with less, because it's not necessarily that the employee growth is growing or that you're able to add employees to meet the population growth. It's you, right? It's you. You're learning more and doing more with less, I think, and doing it incredibly well.
Right.
As many people do.
As many people do. That's right. That's
Yes.
right. Let's see. What is the most important aspect of attracting the future workforce, women in particular, to a career in the industry? Great question. What is the most important aspect of attracting the future workforce?
Well, one thing I would say, and Cindy has relatively young sons. I have a son and a daughter. And when I talk to them, again, I think this relates back to when what I was just relating to when I first started working at Florida Power. I think in the past, people have thought about it as being just more of a stable industry, doesn't change very much, but it was very much changing. A lot of technological changes, a lot of opportunity for innovation. Our company in particular for the last several years has been looking at transformation specifically and what kind of technologies can we use. And it's not just in power generation or distribution. We have, as we were just talking about, we have all sorts of, IT people looking at cybersecurity and how those systems work. So the industry in and of itself has just expanded so tremendously, I think, from what people would traditionally think of as a power company to it touches many, many different types of industries, really. As I was just saying, you're not just running a power plant, you're running a chemical plant. And there's just so much. There's so much going on that I think that the possibilities are much greater than they used to be.
Yeah, when I think about retaining women in the workforce, I think work-life balance is a big key to it, in my opinion. And that's something that I think Duke Energy does a really good job at, in my opinion, is just providing those opportunities for, different types of work schedules, flexibility, along that line. And, we all have kids and, things come up and just having the ability and the freedom to be flexible to take care of family as well as do an excellent job at work. I think we need to provide those opportunities for people if we want to retain, particularly women in the workforce. And then the other piece I would say is keep the job exciting and provide opportunities for growth and learning. And I think in the environmental field, which is the field obviously that I could speak best about, is we have that. It's ever changing, something new every day, lots of opportunities for projects. And as Patty was talking about, a lot of change. So it's certainly not a dull field to get into right now. So a lot of opportunity for learning and just really enjoying the job and growing in the job.
Yeah, great answers, both of you. Patty, your answer reminds me that we still need to emphasize a STEM-related education, right? We are nowhere near done with encouraging the science, technology, engineering degrees and vocational school certifications, right? And Cynthia, where you went on work-life balance, we usually get that question, how do you maintain a work-life balance? And it's made so much easier when the company understands that that is an issue that impacts productivity, right?
Right.
And retention. You're so right.
Mhm.
In that regard, Cindy, what did your company do with respect to COVID, maintaining employee and customer safety during COVID? Not that we're out of COVID, but in the
Right.
height, March, April, May.
Yeah, well, from an employee perspective, it's kind of evolved, hasn't it, Patty?
Very
um,
much.
we've got a large group of our organization that is still working from home. Large group, probably thousands of employees that are still working from home, and probably will be for the next several months. But we also have a group, like me. You can see that I'm in an office here at one of the power plants. We do have people that are critical that have to be at the stations performing work every day so we can keep the lights on. And so we've got a whole series of requirements that we have to meet. For example, face coverings when you are outside of your immediate work area. So if you're walking down the hall, or if you're in a public area or in a break area, what have you, face coverings are on. We have moved to, rather than a lot of face-to-face meetings, we're using Teams. A whole lot more, and almost across the board now for many of our all hands meetings and large group meetings. And if we do have a small group that meets face to face, we're social distanced. We have all those sorts of things that are set up in our meeting rooms that allow us to make sure that we're protecting ourselves and others. So those are just some examples. There's a lot more that we're doing that maybe Patty can elaborate on. I know we've got a lot of employee testing that we've been involved in over the last several months. Patty, anything more you would add?
No, I think you're right on spot. And the company, I was just talking with somebody yesterday, the company has done so much to help protect us as individuals, as employees, as well as the business itself, which fosters a lot of, it certainly helps with morale when you're facing challenging times, that that you're working with and for people who care about you and your well-being and the well-being of your family. Mm-hmm. I think it also will build for the future. When people know where they're working and they may have other choices or careers, they know at least where they've worked has taken is vested interest in them. So they develop some of that loyalty. And I've been really impressed with just the methodical means that we've really looked at. We have this philosophy of plan, do, check, adjust, right? So when we started doing this back in March, we had a plan. And as we went through the year, we checked, we adjusted. In fact, just this week, we checked and readjusted. We were looking at return to the workplace no later than the March timeframe. And then this week, we reevaluated that. And now we know that it'll probably be the June to September timeframe, right, other than the folks that have been at work every day since this all began. Right. So it gives you a lot of confidence that the company is thoughtful in their decisions and takes all of that into consideration.
And in so many ways, you all are the leaders in this regard as frontline workers, right?
Yes.
Essential workers. And I know this just from my own experience in the industry, that we are looked to see what we're doing so that others can follow suit.
Mm-hmm.
And that's good. I think that's good. It's a leadership opportunity for the industry. You ready for your next question?
Yes, ma'am.
Sure.
This may or may not been from Mike Olive, but I didn't tell you that. So here's the question. What are the attributes of the leader that has been most impactful in your career? What attributes in a leader
I
have
think,
been most impactful?
Well, being challenging in a positive manner, asking good questions, not just answering your questions, but making you look into yourself for the answers, maybe guiding you with that. It's like anything else. If you just answer a question for somebody, it's not going to, might be the easy way today, but it's not going to be the easy way tomorrow. So I think that, just learning how to think and challenge yourself.
That's not emotional intelligence, Patty, is it?
Oh, maybe. Maybe it is.
That you might have learned from, I don't know, Mike Olive. No.
Probably.
Cindy, it's a great question. I don't want to make light of it. I mean, he's absolutely Mike Olive is your former colleague, and
he is,
and was part of our forum last year in a serious conversation related to emotional intelligence and what that means in terms of your own professional leadership, but also the organization's leadership. And I want to give credit to him and to Duke for recognizing the importance of that in an organization.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep. Yep.
So what are the attributes that have impacted you? So, yeah, you weren't going to be off the hook. I told him I would ask both of you that question. You can't. Yeah, you're on.
It's hard to pick just one or two because there are several that are so important. But I think if I were to pick the most important, it would be honesty. Mm-hmm. And similar to what Patty said, someone who is direct with you. And it's sort of about being honest, but it's also about not being afraid to tell you the hard stuff, right? The things that you need to hear, and sometimes the negative feedback, right? Because that's how you grow. And I know it's hard to do. I know for myself as a leader, those conversations are the most difficult. But I have found that people are appreciative. Often, absolutely. Not always, but most of the time are very appreciative of that type of feedback if given well, because it helps them to see what they can't sometimes, and then they can grow from that. So I think those are the two important pieces for me.
And certainly, if we frame the conversation that way, right?
Yeah,
as leaders and managers or in position of oversight, if we frame the conversation. These are my observations that hopefully changes are made and implemented correctly, provide you an opportunity of professional growth.
Yeah, exactly.
And then what people do with it after that is really up to them, but at least you've had the direct, candid conversation.
Mm-hmm. Yes, agreed.
So that's a good segue, Cindy. Thank you. Into our last question, which is, what advice would you give to that second-year college student who may be interested in a career in energy?
I think the first thing that I would suggest, and it's because I've had some experience, not personally, but working with these folks, is look for a co-op opportunity. Look for those and seek those out in the energy industry. And I know that we offer them in the environmental group. We try to do it every year. And we have such a good experience with the co-ops. It's good for us because it gives us opportunity to reach out and have an opportunity to mentor and teach someone who's in school and just learning. But it also allows us to get kind of those fresh eyes sometimes, which are so important because many of our folks have been in this industry for many years. I have several on my team that have been around for a while, and so we get used to seeing things a certain way, and it often allows us to kind of look at things a little differently when you have a new, fresh set of eyes and a fresh set of questions that are coming your way. So I think we benefit from that, but I think from a college student's perspective, it gives them a look into the energy industry or the environmental industry, aspect of the energy industry, whatever they're interested in. And it allows them to see, okay, is this something I really want to do?
Right.
So I can't overemphasize if they can pursue those types of opportunities, that would be my primary suggestion.
Great advice. Thank you, Cindy. Patty, what about you?
I had the same thought. The other thing I would say is, don't limit yourself by what you think you know, because oftentimes you don't know what you don't know. And it kind of goes back to the other comment about don't be unwilling to try things and expose yourself to areas. So if an opportunity presents itself, take advantage of it. And the co-op program is an excellent way to do that. And, just different studies that you may have opportunity to look at in school. Maybe it's outside your major if you have an elective, that ties back to that. It's all about keeping your mind open to the experiences that you can create for yourself or that help others help you with.
Absolutely. Internships, apprenticeships, right?
Absolutely.
Mentoring, sometimes working free for credit hours or maybe just to have the foot in the door. It all works. So ladies, that didn't hurt very much, right? Did you have fun?
Not at
Did
all.
you have fun?
We did. Yes. I enjoyed it. Yes.
You both are amazing leaders. Thank you for your leadership. Thank you for all that you do, not just for your company, but for the state of Florida and for what you do as role models for the future of energy. It's so appreciated. Thank you for being with us. And you know what else students can do? They can let us sponsor them for this year's Florida's Women in Energy Leadership Forum. This year's forum will be live in person, October 27th and 29th in Orlando at the JW Marriott. Look for our website to get more information. And ladies, this year's theme appropriately is resilience, right? Nice. Because in 2021, you have shown you can be resilient as an industry. Floridians are resilient people. And we're going to talk all about that, not just in future shows for the forum, but at the forum itself. Thanks for being with us, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks for having me. Enjoyed it.